Hi, everybody. Mitch Tannenbaum here. Thanks for joining me today. Today, I'm going to talk about something which is becoming, unfortunately, way too common, which is banking fraud. And it's facilitated by the fact that most of the tech that we use for banking doesn't have a whole lot of security in it. I'm going to share my screen here and show you some stuff. What caught my interest in this was an article that I saw about a lady outside of Pittsburgh whose bank account got wiped out. And the scam, unfortunately, is a fairly common scam. I'll describe it in some detail. I'll talk about some other scams too. And then lastly, talk about things that you can do to protect yourself. So what happened here was the hacker spoofed the bank's caller ID, which is not hard because there's no security, and sent the lady a text message which looked like it came from the bank because it came from the bank's spoofed caller ID. And the text message said, if you didn't make this charge, whatever the charge was, then respond to us with a no, which she did because it looked like it was from the bank and she thought she was doing the right thing. And turns out it didn't work out very well. So what happened immediately after that is the hacker, pretending to be the bank, called her because they knew they had a live one on the line, that someone who would respond, and said, "I'm from the bank. I'm here to help you." What the hacker was really doing at that point was trying to log into the person's account by doing a password reset. The bank was asking the hacker the security questions. The hacker then asked this lady the security questions. She was amazed that the hacker knew the security questions because he was trying to log on to her account. It's really simple. Ultimately, she answered all of the questions and the bank reset her password. He then logged in. She had maybe two-factor authentication turned on. He said, "Oh, I'm going to send you a code. Tell me what the code is." So now the two-factor authentication was bypassed, and he was able to log into the account and empty the account out of all her money. The good news was eventually PNC did give her back her money. And as a consumer, generally speaking, if you notify the bank quickly enough, you will get your money back. The rules vary a little bit, but basically you'll get your money back. But it may be a serious hassle. Here's another case of someone else that had their bank account drained. Again, they're saying two-factor authentication. Obviously, if you have single-factor authentication and you choose a bad password, or it's the same password as at a website that had been hacked where the passwords were compromised, then that's kind of the worst case situation, but that can definitely happen for sure. Here's a case of a guy in England who realized what was going on and tried to call the bank. In this case, it was Lloyd's, and they put him on hold for an hour. They said, "You called customer service." They said, "Oh, well, only the fraud department can help you," which may or may not be true. Don't know about how that works at Lloyd's. But they put him on hold and just left him there, and eventually disconnected the call. So that wasn't so hot. And I don't know what the rules are in terms of him getting his money back in England. It's definitely different, I'm sure, than it is in the United States. But clearly, he was not happy that they put him on hold. TD Bank, this is such a common situation that TD Bank says, here's some things that you can do to go off and reduce your risk of fraud. These are things that the bank will never ask you to do. So, for example, they won't call you and ask you for personal information. Now, if you call them, then you know what number you're calling. They might well ask you for personal information. They would not ask you to keep a secret. They wouldn't say, "Oh, go take money out of your bank account and go buy gift cards and tell me what the codes are, but don't tell the banker why you're doing this." And absolutely, bank would never tell you to keep a secret from the banker. That's just not going to happen. They're not going to go off and threaten to cancel your services, and they're not also going to ask you to remote into your computer. Just not going to happen. Those are not things that banks would do. They also don't try to rush you into things. And if you're really uncomfortable and you really think it's a scam and you're really just not certain what's going on, go into a bank branch and talk to a banker. Do it quickly, Don't wait a couple of days because, you know, gee, I don't really want to get in my car and drive to the bank. Do it right away. But you know, best case scenario, you know, then you're talking to the real bank. You know, if you walk into the bank and it says TD Bank on the front of it, you know, it really is TD Bank. They would never ask you for help with an investigation in the sense of asking you to participate in some kind of scam. They wouldn't ask you to front money. They wouldn't ask you to do anything like that. They might ask you for information. Typically, in fact, almost always, a bank will send you a letter if they want your help like that. Now, I have gotten my share of phone calls from banks saying, hey, we think this is a fraudulent transaction. You know, if this is fraud, blah, blah, blah. You know, if you are concerned that it is not from your bank, or they start asking you for information that you say, this is a bit sketchy, hang up, turn over your debit or credit card, look at the number on the bank, call that number, ask to speak to the fraud department. Hopefully they won't keep you on hold for a long time, and say, gee, I just got a call saying there was fraudulent traffic on my card, on my account. Did this really come from you? Now you're initiating the call. You know what number you are calling to, and the odds of fraud go down dramatically because of that. They would never ask you to purchase gift cards. They would never ask you to transfer money as part of an investigation. They would never ask for access to computers. It's kind of redundant here. But those are the kinds of things that the banks would not ask you to do. Now, I said that in the case of this lady outside of Pittsburgh, that she got her money back. One really important thing that I will say is that if you are a business as opposed to a consumer, the rules are completely different. Businesses are supposed to be informed and knowledgeable. The transactions follow the rules of the Uniform Commercial Code mostly, and the bank's agreement with you, which is different than a consumer agreement. You can set up a lot of rules in terms of things that you can do. You can limit the amount of money that's transferred out of your account on a daily basis. You can limit the amount of money that a single person can remove from the account or wire out from the account. You can set up a two-person rule where someone can initiate a wire transfer, but somebody else has to approve it. And we've seen scams trying to scam that one too, where they said, oh, the hacker calls up somebody and said, oh, you know, Joe just set this transaction up and we need you to approve it, when Joe really didn't do that. Hopefully you create a process inside your company that scam won't work. But you are much more likely to lose your money in that case than you are as a consumer. But the best thing to do, turn over the card, look at the number on the back, you initiate the call, you talk to the banker, or you walk into the branch if you're more comfortable doing that. If you have any questions, please reach out to us, of course. And with that, until next time, have a good day.